All right, come on in, come on in, come on in, come on in. Let's talk about it. We got a special guest this evening, man. We got a legend, a USC legend, Lofa Tatupu. Lofa, how you doing, my man?
What's up, everybody? I'm blessed, man. Thank you for having me.
Man, appreciate you taking out the time. As I stated, you are a USC legend, man. A lot. You really, I think, in my opinion, when I think of USC legends, as far as top 10 linebackers that come out of USC, you easily in the top 10 by far, man. I just think that, and I'm gonna go through some of those guys as well, and I want to know
Yeah,
who your top five is. As I got a top 10. It's almost impossible to even
it,
put a top 10 in. I mean, it's
it's
crazy, but I want to talk about you, you where you came from,
mhm.
and all of that good stuff, man. We good?
Yeah, man. Top 10. I don't know, man. There's a lot. There's a lot of great Trojans that have been there. So I appreciate it though.
Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So man, your upbringing, man. I know you were born in San Diego. That's correct.
Mhm. Yeah, born in
You were
San
born in San
Diego.
Diego. Then a lot of people. I don't know how many people realize that you came from Maine. You were in Maine. Dad played for the New England Patriots for years, and Dad actually played for USC Trojans as a fullback. I think he blocked for guys like Charles White. I mean, the pedigree was already in you for a long time, man. I mean, can you talk about that as we open this thing up?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So my dad, yeah, he was there 74 to 78, won a national title in 74. Yeah, Anthony Davis, Ricky Bell, Charles White, he blocked for some of the biggest names that ever went through there. And so growing up, yeah, I always had love for the Trojans, even though I grew up in Massachusetts. And, my dad played 13, 14 years in the NFL, 13 of them for New England. So that's why I grew up out in Maine on the East Coast or Massachusetts on the East
Wow,
Coast.
wow, wow. At what age did you leave San Diego? Because you were born in San Diego. Did you leave at a young baby?
It was so what happened was 82 was a strike year in the NFL. And so my dad, there was a work stoppage. He didn't know when the season was going to resume. And I think it was a shortened season and they lifted the strike. But at the time, I was born in November. So we were back in San Diego with all my mom's family. And my dad was just back east, in Massachusetts training and getting ready to go back to work. So as soon as that season was over, the strike was lifted. We went back to Massachusetts, where I grew up, till I was 18, until I left for Maine.
Wow. So dad played, and then I think you had an uncle that played as well, right? For USC.
Um, one of my uncles, one of my cousins played for was San Diego State, Joe
Okay.
Tuitala, and he was someone I always looked up to, and I just always dreamed, hey, maybe one day I can play, college. NFL was obviously the goal, but you got to put in the work and get to college first.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you in Maine and you go to, well, first of all, when you're in Maine, you're playing high school ball and you're playing quarterback and linebacker. I
Yeah.
mean, how does that work out? And you had like 800 yards passing, 400 yards rushing. I mean, you were balling out on both positions. So when you were recruited at Maine, were you recruited for, and they were Division One AA, right?
Correct. Yeah,
How does
FCS.
nobody? How does only a one AA see Lofa miss out on Lofa to Tupa? Explain it. Can you explain that one?
I'm still wondering how, because like I look back at the tape, and yeah, I wasn't an athlete like some of the guys that went to SC in terms of, you turn on their high school tape and you're like, wow, that guy's big, tall, fast. I was short, slow, but hard hitting. That's what I did. So, looking back, I kind of understand now. Coaches, this is how they feed their families, and so they're always looking to get bigger, faster, stronger. But the funniest thing was I ended up playing quarterback because one of my best friends quit to play basketball. He had hoop dreams, just like we all did. Um, and so I was the next man up, and I was like, well, I'll play quarterback. At the time, I was a wide receiver, running back. And so I played quarterback, played middle linebacker. Interestingly enough, the only Division One offers I had were to play quarterback. It
Wow.
was I had three offers to play quarterback, and they were all in the Big East. And the Big East at the time, this was 2001. So you're going against the '01 Hurricanes if I was to play quarterback. And I was like, you know what? I don't see a lot of 5'11" Samoan quarterbacks in the NFL, but I see a lot of 5'11" linebackers, in general. Dat Wynn, Dexter Copley, London Fletcher, Zach Thomas. The list was endless. There were so many guys that found a way, whether drafted or undrafted, to make it. So I just quickly ran through my mind the scenario of how to best get to the NFL. And so I took the linebacker scholarship to Maine.
Wow. And so you go to Maine and you actually played. How was it there when you first got there and when you played there? I know the speed was totally different, but how was it?
So, I just, that year I turned 19, but I was real pissed off when I ended up going 1AA, right? I thought I was, good enough to play Division I. I saw other guys around my league and in the state go to Boston College, Syracuse, all the big schools back east. And so, I got the chip on my shoulder. And then I got humbled when I got there, and I was like third on the depth chart. And I was just like, yeah. I was like, okay, you got to have a serious conversation, look in the mirror, and like, maybe it's time to put in some more work. So I did. I stayed in the film room, weight room too, did everything I could. And just eventually, about halfway through the season, I got my first chance to play because of injury. And so I led the team in tackles. I had an interception or two. And from that point on, I started to gain the trust of my coaches and get a little more playing time. And after the last 6 games of that year, I put together quite a, for the limited time I played, statistically, I was like second in every category. And that's only because of all the time I missed. So I put together a film, and I said, hey, it's time for me to get the next challenge. And I always wanted to play Division I football. And so I sent that tape everywhere.
Wow. So you were the one that kind of put it in. You had it in your mind already to make that executive decision and make it happen and go to USC. And then was USC the only school that responded back?
No, 2 schools.
2 schools responded.
And actually, SC only responded when this other school responded. That's kind of how it goes. Like, they'll say, oh, well, who does he have for offers? And if you don't say like a list of schools, they're like, well, then we don't care. But because interestingly enough, I sent my tape to Pete at a high school, and they were like, we can't take a kid from Massachusetts. Like, we got all these kids in Cali. And I get it. So then we circled, back the next year, and we sent another tape there. And Oregon Ducks were actually the school I was supposed to go to. And
oh my God, don't say Oregon.
They were the only ones. I sent tapes to everywhere on the West Coast because my mom was in San Diego at the time. I sent to San Diego State, Hawaii, UNLV, Colorado State, a bunch of other Pac schools. And Oregon came back, and they had a large, contingent of Polynesian kids. So I think at Bilotti, he was like, yeah, come on up.
Mike Bilotti.
Yeah. And so I thought I was a Duck. And so I thought I was headed up there, but my dad sent one more tape to SC. And then he hit me with, right before I was supposed to fly up to Oregon, he was like, hey, man, we got to take one more stop. And I was like, where are we going? He's like, I want to go see my old school. And I was like, all right. So I thought we were flying out of LAX. We get there. I'm in Heritage Hall. I see all the trophies. I see the Heismans. I see all the banners, everything. And I was just like, damn, this is football. And
history.
Before you know it, they had a tour guide, and I was walking around the campus, and I was like, oh, man, something's up. And then my dad was like, yeah, I sent one more tape here. And they wanted, to meet with you before you took off. I was like, all right. And so after the tour, went over to the top of Heritage Hall where the coach's office were. Pete, Nick Holt, Kennedy Pola, Norm Chow, Ed Ogeron, the whole staff. They were there waiting on me. And Pete, he asked me, he's like, well, I heard you got, you're on your way to Oregon. And I was like, yeah, I am, and he was like, is it too late? If I give you a scholarship here, will you come here instead? And instantly, it was that quick. I said, if you give me a scholarship, I'll come to SC. And so he goes, "Congratulations, you're a Trojan." Yeah, I'll never forget that. And I just gave my dad a hug, and then we had quite the run there.
No, to say the least. I mean, man, you guys had an incredible. Hey, Jaywalk, you know Jaywalk. He played with you, man. He's a regular on here. But Jaywalk said, "Lofa, my brother." Big J, what's up, man? So hey, that's a message within itself, because you got a lot of kids now that you talk about betting on yourself, and trying to in the transfer portal right now is real. It's a big thing. It's bigger than that. It wasn't even like the way it is when you were playing, man. What's your thoughts on the transfer portal as it relates to now and as it relates to then?
I mean, it's a double-edged sword. It's great in the regard that kids that believe in themselves, like me coming from 1AA, want to try to find more competition, better themselves, and get to that next level. There's still some using it because they're running from competition, and I think that's what's tough. But in the end, it all sorts itself out. I still talk to a bunch of kids these days that are leaving high school. They reach out to me on social media, and I advise them as best I can. I'm like, look, like even some like that undersized. My plan, I was like, look, I got to start somewhere. So I was hitting up all Division II school scholarship, and then all of a sudden, late Maine came in, and so I was like, all right, well, I got to take the better opportunity. So I understand the transfer portal in terms of bettering your situation, because you only got 4 years, right?
Right,
I mean,
right.
And one with a red shirt if to buy you an extra year of college, but that window is so finite. It is quick and closing, and so I hate to see when a kid doesn't give it a year or two at a school in terms of finding out more about themselves and facing the adversity, not running from the competition. Because anywhere you go, especially when you get to that NFL, everybody's good, and you don't have a choice who drafts you.
Right. So now you're at USC, and you're in a situation where the competition is far more greater than it was when you came from Maine, and so you step on the field then. So what was it like when you stepped on the field there and you started looking at the competition? How did you feel like within yourself as far as who you were as a player?
Yeah, I still had my confidence. I had probably too much confidence, whether it was, we could call it ignorance. I didn't know any better to be scared, whether it was high school, college, NFL. The moment never felt too big. I felt at home. And I think that's most in part because of all the work I put in terms of studying my opponent, knowing my assignment, knowing the defense inside and out. So then that allows you to play faster. And I think a lot of kids overlook that aspect of the game, that process of the game, of becoming a student of the game. Absolutely.
We'll talk about that, because we'll talk about what we see now. And Jaywalk, he talks about it all the time as you guys' practices, man. I had Herschel Dennis on here as well. He talked about it as well. He said that, man, he actually said that some of those practices were harder than the NFL practices, man, believe it or not. I mean, I was just like, wow. I mean, that's how competitive it was with you guys' team. And so when I think about you, though, and I know USC had, prior to you, they had great linebackers, but after you came, it just seemed like, man, it was like a flow of linebackers. So in my mind, you kind of reset the foundation as far as like quality linebackers, because you had like guys like Willie McGinn, all those guys, and of course Claiborne. You had other guys, but then after you came, then you start having the Brian Cushion, you start having the Keith Rivers, you start having the Ray Malugas, you start having all these guys. So do you kind of feel like you kind of reset the foundation of some of those, because they just start coming out boom, 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 and it could have been a Pete Carroll thing?
Yeah, I got to give credit to Pete and Ken Norton, Rocky Seto, the guys that went out and found dogs, like Ed Ogeron. No one beat these guys in recruiting. Right. We were so well recruited. Clay Matthews was a walk-on at SC.
That's crazy. That's crazy to even think about that.
My brother's going to be a Hall of Famer, and he was a walk-on with us. That's how stacked we were. And so in that room alone, Dallas Sartz, Matt Grudegood. Oh my God, is still a legend and forever will be at that school, high school, college, anywhere in California. everybody knows who Matt Grudegood is, and he was he lost out on the Buckus to Derek Johnson that year. So I mean, the things I got to learn, alongside those guys, and then in that room, it was a first class education in how to be a pro, and I think that's why you saw us churn out linebacker after linebacker.
That was crazy, man. It was crazy.
Yeah. And Kaluka Maava, too. Kaluka was in there, too.
Oh, yeah. And who was the other one? Was it Oscar Lua? Was it Oscar?
Oscar Lua, yeah.
Yeah. It was so many guys.
Yeah.
It was so many guys. It was like a linebacker factory. And so you have a successful college career, and this thing really just moves and grows to another level. Then you get to the NFL. Your first 3 years, I need you to explain this. 3 Pro Bowls in the first 3 years?
I had a good team, man. And with team success comes some individual recognition. I mean, that's what Mike Holmgren always said, and I firmly believe it. I had one of the best D-lines in college, and then also in the NFL when I got there. They didn't get a ton of credit, and they really helped make me the player that I was, and the coaching too. Can't leave out the coaching.
Absolutely. You played a total, I think it's 6 years, correct?
Yeah.
6 years, and through that time, 550 tackles, 8.5 sacks, forced fumbles, 7 interceptions, 10, and then TDs was 2. So, man, I mean, you had a very, very, 6 years, but man, it was like very, very impactful, man. And I think the Trojan family, man, absolutely just love you all over. So, in your opinion, you made it to the league, you had success, and now that you kind of could take a seat back and kind of look from the outside, more so in, when we start looking at this program, what is your, we're going to try to transition to that. What is your overall thoughts on what we see right now?
Oh, man.
You got to take a sip for that one.
Yeah. You see the cup. There we go. It's hard, especially when I know what the standard was when I was there,
Absolutely.
And that's what I try to remind my brothers. They always remind me, hey, we're the standard. And I go, hey, yeah, but that, like, you look back at the time, we didn't realize what we were doing. That was just what we did. And you look back, even the 2 years I was there, 26 games, we won 25-1 with 2 national titles, a split and outright. And the only game we lost, I give credit to Cal, but it was in triple overtime and a guy by the name of Aaron Rodgers. So it was real competition. But it's hard to expect, as storied as our tradition and history is, it's hard to expect that level. But with, I understand with the contracts that are given these days and with everything that's considered and all the 5 stars that are, landing in LA, you expect greatness. And so I was proud of the way these guys fought.
Right.
But I feel like maybe some of it's coming too easy. And they didn't have a pipe dripping over their locker like I did.
Yeah.
Before we had the Galen Center and the nice, amenities that they enjoy now. But it's it's a learning process. They're young men, and I believe we got the right staff in place to get us, to the playoffs and beyond. And it's going to take time. I think, Pete, he put together like 3 great classes right in a row, and right. I think that's what it takes to find any combinations of, freshmen, sophomore, juniors to have longevity in terms of success. Because I remember that class that I came in with, I think it was Leinert. I think Jaywalk was in that class. There were so many guys that Mike Williams, I think, was part of that class. There was 5 stars all over the place, all Americans. And if you could do that 2 to 3 years in a row, that's really what it takes to put together a couple championship runs.
No doubt. So you mentioned about 4 or 5 stars all over the field. And I keep up with recruiting, and, I'm looking at these guys coming from modern day high school. We got a couple of guys that come really from all over, have some quality transfer portal guys, whether it's Bear Alexander, whether it's Anthony Lucas coming from Texas A&M. We got guys that were actually 5-stars. So I think for me, the most puzzling thing when I looked at this year, like it frustrated was I know that these guys are quality players. I know that they're good. So in your opinion, is it more of a scheme issue or the technique? Because I've seen plays like I learned how to tackle in elementary school, you know? I mean, what is it from Lofa? What is it?
Scheme-wise, there was, and I'm just speaking defensively because that's what I played. Offense, you score 40 a game, you're supposed to be in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
And if you're just giving up 39 a game, you're in the playoffs. Which that's disgusting to me to think about giving up 39 a game. But from a scheme standpoint, I saw too many guys just cutting guys loose, running straight down the field, eyes in the backfield, whether it's, the linebackers at the second level or the safeties and the corners behind, just oblivious to what's taking place and what's expected of them. From a fundamental standpoint and technique, you're absolutely right. There's no excuse to just miss tackle after tackle after tackle, especially when we got the speed, so it just leads me to the question is what are we really working on? If we're not working on scheme, if we're not working on fundamentals, what are we doing all week? And so we'll see. We're going to get a new D coordinator in there. We'll see how it goes. But as far as the 5-star, I always got to bring this up. We had a 0-star middle linebacker back in those championship runs. So I'm just saying,
right.
I think the star
ranking system
is not as accurate as a lot of people think.
Yeah. Matter of fact, J-Walk, we were on here doing a show one day, and he kind of alluded to that. Even mentioned the fact that, you got guys now, not saying it's like this on this team, but guys now that actually buy stars. They go to these camps, and it's different ways that they, to pump their name up.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure.
Yeah. So I think that's the deal. But as far, can we get Lofa the coach? Get their coach?
I can't be making less than my players, man. That's my. you see how much these kids are making?
Man, they put up On3 puts up this NIL value all the time, and you see 1 million. Matter of fact, I seen Washington State quarterback today. He's going to transfer portal, and I saw 3 teams. I think it's like 3 or 4 teams. They said he has $1 million offers right now. I said USC, holla at him.
Some coordinators aren't making that money, so it's hard to put up with a kid that doesn't want to listen, but you got to play him.
Yeah.
I think that's really the reality of what's going on with NIL.
Absolutely.
It's no longer amateur sports. And
right.
So if a guy comes in and you gave him that bag, he's seeing that field.
Absolute truth.
And it's just, because whoever paid him, whether it's boosters, alumni, whatever, they want to see their money go to use.
Yes.
So,
and I think a lot of people, man, you're hitting on something right now, and a lot of people, they want to see a return on their money, and a lot of people wonder why. Well, why is he not? Why? And I'm not gonna say just for USC that's the case, but we see it all over. They want to know why certain people. And look, it is a very, very puzzling thing, and the transfer portal, NIL, it all goes together, and hopefully, from a whole, USC just comes full throttle with everything they need to do, coordinator, everything.
Yeah, because I'm telling you right now, if I don't like the way a kid's playing, I'm going to help him correct it, but I'm not going to play him until I'm confident in his ability.
Bingo! That's the way it's supposed to go, right?
That's how it used to go.
But if he keeps missing tackle after tackle after tackle, and he stays on the field,
that's my fault. That's my fault if I'm keeping him out there.
So you touching on that's a whole other situation, man.
But I really feel like that's where, some of these guys are hamstrung in terms of coaches. Like, they don't have a choice of who's going out there. So if I don't have a choice, like, for me to be D coordinator, I want to hand select most of my guys.
Absolutely.
And you're going to be upset when a couple of them have no stars, 1 star, but they're an absolute fucking savage.
And that's what it's supposed to be.
Hey, that's all I'm saying, man. I want the best.
The best. And so hopefully hopefully, the influence of this NIL stuff doesn't sway it too much, because I think it's really taken away from a coach being an actual coach and really utilizing these players the way they're supposed to be played. I don't want to keep you too long. I know you're getting ready to do your thing, but when I think about who is Lofa's top linebackers, yeah, I know it's putting you in a hard spot, man. But it's so many. But if I said Lofa, 5 linebackers, 5, okay, 10. That's
No, I'll go 5. I'll go 5. For me, because I was a middle, Chris Clay is number 1.
Okay, and yeah.
The Butkus Award winner, our only Butkus Award winner. I don't know how his name doesn't get brought up more in conversation. That guy, he did everything. I think he had 6 interceptions his last season, took a couple to the house, 120 tackles. His poster was right there every time we walked out, on the All-American walk. Absolute beast. So I'll go him 1. Is Junior? Is he a linebacker or a DN?
Junior? Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, Junior. He's number 1. He's number 1. Okay.
Well, hey, look, you said my list, so
because I said Willie McGinnis is kind of a tricky situation too, because he played.
He's a rush edge outside linebacker. Yeah. So those are actually my next 2 guys in order. And look, like I said, Chris Clay gets the nod because Butkus Award and middle linebacker. So you got to have someone to line these other guys up. So that's my guy, Chris Clay. Junior, obvious, just absolute beast. Willie Mack, everything he did at SC and then after. Okay, so 4 and 5.
It's hard to name 5, man.
It is. I'm putting Matt Grudegood in there because pound for pound, one of the hardest hitters I ever seen, one of the toughest guys I ever played with or against. That dude is a machine. And wow. And I mean, some of the best hands too. I think he had 5 interceptions our last year together, and another couple of years prior. He was a beast. Everything, we lined up Groots on the edge at 5'10", 5'11", 215. And he had like 8.5, 9 sacks. Wow. I think he either was tied for first with Kenichi Udeze as a sophomore, or they were 1 and 2. And I mean, so anywhere you put him, he made plays. And so that's 4. Now for 5, I mean, Cush, Clay, or Ray.
That's why I said go with 10, man. It's almost it is. I did 11.
I'm gonna go with Ray for. And I know there's greats, in the past, Clay Matthews. There's so many, but I'm gonna go with Ray because of the hardware, man. The hard hits and the hardware. I got the Nagurski Award. My little brother, I love that guy.
Ray's a monster. He's on my list. Let me ask you about this guy. I don't know if you consider him a linebacker or if you consider him a safety. Sewell Cravens. Where would you put him at?
I'd like to consider him a linebacker. That was one of the best playmakers I've ever seen in the run game, blitzing. I feel like Sewell was just maybe 3 or 4 years ahead of his time.
Yeah, way before.
Before they started truly going to this split safety and this big passing game where you got to be fast, you better be tough, and you got to be willing. And he was. And have you ever seen Sewell's running back tape from high school?
I hadn't seen it, but he was an absolute athlete, though. I know.
Oh my God! It was one of the best tapes I've ever seen.
I'm gonna tell you another guy that has a great running back tape. He grew up around my area. He went to Crenshaw High School. Hayes Pillard. Have you ever seen him play running back?
Hayes can run the ball. Come on, man.
Hayes. I thought when USC. Matter of fact, he was on here. But I thought when USC was recruiting him. Matter of fact, I got mad when they put him at linebacker because I said this dude can run the ball. Hayes was a running back.
You got to send me that. I gotta believe it. Hayes was downhill, hard hitting. It's so many, man. So I got Junior Seau, I got Jack Del Rio, Ray Maluga. I got you on there. Lofa, Tatupu, Sewell Cravens, Clay Matthews, Brian Cushing, Keith Rivers, Willie McGinnis.
I put a bunch of them, and then I got Hayes. Man, Hayes came on here. I got to show Hayes some love. Yeah, I love the way Hayes play because I grew up watching him.
You know who I wish they put at linebacker instead of running back? Alan Bradford.
Oh man,
he was
that dude was a dog. He was a beast. He was a huge guy, man.
And he was nasty, and he would go downhill and hit.
But that's the thing that I think really want to bring out. USC has always had these type of athletes, man, these high caliber athletes. And, you know, when you're talking about the toughness, man, it was just a difference. And I think it all starts with coaching. You mentioned Ed Orgeron. So now when we look at the defensive coordinator, I think USC absolutely has to get this all the way right. They can't play patty cake baker's man with this, man. They got to get it right. What's your thought? I mean, I don't know if you keep up with the defensive coordinators, but I mean, anybody in mind, would you mind seeing Ed? I see a lot of people say Ed Orgeron come back. What's your thoughts?
I don't know who's on the list, but Ed Orgeron, I would take him back in a second, man.
Yeah.
If he's willing to come out there, just because from the simple discipline standpoint, right? Like, I think that goes into tackling. That goes into being accountable. And Ed was a guy that, you know, him along with a bunch of the other coaches, they held the players accountable. And then over time, the players start making the commitment to hold their brothers accountable. And that's when you become something special, when the players take it over themselves. That's what we did down there, because the coaches just showed us, they put it in place, put the structure in place, and we took it from there.
Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully USC absolutely gets this right. You know, they got a bunch of legends that what's your thoughts on them bringing back some of the legends that, you know, because I think right now when you look at this staff, you don't see a whole lot of guys, I would say, that have history. I seen Sewell Cravens. He put his name in the hat as far as he would be willing. I see him put it on Twitter. He would be willing to come back. Like, what is your thoughts as far as that, like ex-Trojans, just kind of relay the foundation and the history and the toughness?
Yeah, you know, I'm fine with anybody, you know, at the helm as long as they win. Like, you know what I'm saying? Lincoln got a lot of wins under his belt, so I'm fine. But, you know, I think what we really need is, you know, Lincoln could be the good cop. He needs someone to play bad cop. And I think Eddie Orgeron is that guy that just, you know, he'll get in the player's face, let them know when they're messing up, let them know how much it's hurting the team. Because, you know, I see guys getting, you know, the unsportsmanlike conduct penalties and all this shit that we never stood for. Like, we would, like, the coach is going to say something to you, but we're going to say something to you too, you know? And sometimes, you know, we might speak with our fists.
But that's accountability, man. And I don't think, and you speaking to, like, really leadership aspect of it. You guys, you know, if the coaches, we're not saying kangaroo court right now, but you know, if the coaches might miss something, you guys on the field with each other, you guys see what's going on. So amongst you guys yourself, man, I mean, just being able to pull somebody coattail and say, look, this is the way we got to do it. I think that's an excellent point.
It's, you know, because Pete always had that balance with his coaching staff. You know, he was everything's good, let's go, we got this, like, positive, you know, attitude. Ed Orgeron, Kennedy Pola, Coach Davis, Nick Holt. Oh, Nick Holt. I guess for another time, I got some stories just about his greatness and awesomeness. I mean, he'd have you rolling 1 second, but then he'd get after you, you know, just a couple seconds later on the next play. But just having that discipline to not, it's hard enough to beat another team stacked with 5 stars and great coaches. You can't beat yourself, you know, week in and week out with penalties. And I think that's the biggest thing I see is, like, we're helping other teams beat us, whether it's with penalties or just making mistakes at horrible times. You know, mistakes are never great, but when the game's on the line, that's where we always had our poise, and we made the plays that we had to get out of there with a win. Absolutely.
So, in your opinion, the most underrated, the top 3 underrated players, because you guys had so much talent. There's some guys that probably never seen the field, that had talent that you might have seen, Lofa might have seen. In your opinion, who are the top 3 players?
I'm gonna name on those championship teams. Michael Patterson was the most underrated guy that just kicked ass every single week. Should have been a unanimous All-American. He gave opposing offenses hell, and he made life easy for me and Bruce.
Wow.
Desmond Reed was a guy that, had he not got hurt, would have been a draft pick, probably in the 3 to 5 round range. Wow. He was a nightmare to cover, and he was tough, and he never went down. He had an incredible balance, a lot similar to, and great hands, but he had balance kind of similar to my boy Golden Tate, that I played with in the NFL. Yeah, they had that same running back mentality with receiver hands.
Yeah.
And then Dwayne Jarrett, I know he would get his respect later. It would either have to be him or Steve Smith in terms of, what they truly meant. But I felt like Dwayne, if Dwayne's not there, we don't beat Cal, the second year, his true freshman year. He made that big 4th and 9 grab. We don't beat Cal, and there's another game that's
Notre Dame, when he caught on the sideline.
Yeah, that one too. But he had like 2 games his freshman year that, for a true freshman to do that on the big stage when we're already number 1 and he's just coming in and learning how, our culture is, it was really incredible.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I love Dwayne. I remember he came in from New Jersey. He was acting like a vet. His composure was like a vet, and he really just handled himself super, super well. We got about almost 200 people in here. Everybody, they asking for some questions.
Yeah, go ahead. What you got?
I'm gonna get to, before we close out, I'm gonna get to some of these questions real quick. As we go on, man. Lofa, he's been an absolute joy, man. It's a million questions. Let's see, LBC, USC last tough defense was 2008.
Last tough and greatest. That was statistically the greatest defense. I think they gave up 7.4 or 7.5 points per game.
Yeah. HR Anchor, he says this, USC had the next Allen Bradford in the next class. Dude is 240 pounds. And absolutely, he was an absolute monster. I want Ed for recruiting. Hey.
Yes. And coaching. Give them both titles.
Absolutely. Brenton Iverson says culture. There's so many guys in here right now. I'm lost in the sauce. That's something I say on here. I'm lost in all the sauce right here. But let's see, Chris
McFoy.
Oh my God. I haven't heard that name in a long time.
Yes. Young Tiny, yes. Chris McFoy. If he doesn't catch a 3rd and 10 or 4th and 10 against Stanford, we lose that game.
Yes. The Forgotten Man. Love hearing now how our Trojans really enjoy Pete Carroll. Hey, everybody I talked to, you said, Herschel Dennis said it. Everybody, Jaywalk says it. I mean, he's just a different. And then you gotta. What was that like though? You coming out of college, have the same exact coach.
Oh, I had my last year up here. It was just good to see it wasn't just an act, right? Like the reason he's had success in the NFL is because he's sticking true to his identity, and he is. You got to accept it or you don't. That's kind of like, on his terms. I think that's why he had success. The first time around, he didn't have success in the NFL. He went to SC, he figured it out, found an identity, stuck to it, and I think that's what's led to the 11 years of success up here too.
Absolutely. Darnell, definitely appreciate it, man. Fight on. Let's see. Day will come when college football champ will play Super Bowl. Yeah, right.
Bro. It'll be a murder show.
The best Alabama team, the best Georgia team, the best
would die.
Would die. It's a different level when you get to that level, huh?
Oh my God. It should not and will never happen. I'm just gonna tell you that right now.
Absolutely. So look, we don't want to hold Lofa on. We know he's getting ready to move and groove. But Lofa, can you tell everybody? I've seen a couple of things on the internet. Can you tell everybody what you're doing? What you're doing now? I know you got a company, and just kind of promote.
Yeah, I got 1937 Farms, the cannabis industry up here, the legal recreational cannabis. I got into that back around 2014, 2015, right when I retired. And then, so we're doing that. We're building out, we're expanding. And then I got Zone In CBD. That's a hemp line. I found my best health and wellness with the plant. I'm a cannabis advocate through and through, like a lot of my brothers, Lendale White, Frosty Rucker. A lot of us, we found healing with the plant. And then I've actually been toying with the idea. I've been consulting a lot of kids on kind of the recruiting process and just, telling them what to expect, how to go about it. So I think I'm going to start one of these things up.
I think you absolutely, man, you got a voice, man. You're, they say the proof is in the pudding. I think you absolutely should.
I feel for these kids that don't know where to turn. They don't know how to go about it. They're not getting offers, not getting looked at. Just a year ago, I got a kid. I didn't get him anything. I sent tape of him to a bunch of schools, and he got
you actually.
Yeah. Wow. If you can play, if I like what I see on that film, even if I don't love what I see on the film, I'm going to teach you how to correct, how to get better.
Wow.
And once you put it on film, I will put my name on it and put it out there for you because I didn't have anybody doing that for me. Yeah, right.
Man, that's called giving back, man.
Well, and I'm not charging these kids nothing. It's just giving back free game, man. Because when I see it and I know, and years later, I've seen so many kids. Even one of my time I coached with the Hawks in 15 and 16. I still do some consulting for them. There's kids that I've seen. Alex Singleton, he's a kid from Cali. He went to Montana State. I took one look at his film and I was like, this kid's gonna get drafted, right? They're like, nah, he'll be a free agent. And so I brought him into camp. Unfortunately, it didn't win. It didn't work. He ended up getting cut. He went the hard route. He went up to Canada, won the Player of the Year, won the Grey Cup. That worked his way back in, and then COVID hit, and he stuck with it though. And then he finally got his chance with the Eagles, and he only played 10 games, and he had 120 tackles, and led every single one of his teams since then. The Eagles twice, and then the Broncos. This will be his second year in a row, and he just got his big deal last year. And if I showed you his film, I guarantee you would have been like, what's not to love about this kid? Now, he had some things to work on. He had to get his speed a little quicker. There's things that he'll tell you too. But if you could, it's football. All we're looking for is people to run around and make plays, whether it's knocking people out, catching a football, or running the football. It shouldn't be that hard.
I think people get lost in the sauce, like you said, with the stars. Believe it or not, through this platform, I get a lot of guys sending me film, and I forward it to the coaching staff.
Yeah.
Sometimes they see it and sometimes they don't. And it's like, okay, you got that eye. Certain people have the eye to evaluate the talent, man. And if, I think a lot of people really getting off the mark when they look at the stars and then they're not looking at the film. I even get it in my comments. I said, look, we got a guy like Braylon Shelby out of Texas. We got guys like Tackett Curtis that was Louisiana Player of the Year. But look at the film. Don't just always look at the stars. Look at the film. Yeah. They wanted to get these 5 stars. And I think you and Jay Walker saying it here too. Lofa, let's link up that recruiting operation. Is very much into that. Me and him talk about that all the time.
Oh, it's, I got knocked because, where I grew up, Massachusetts. They don't play no football in Massachusetts. Shit. Me and Hasselbeck grew up in Massachusetts. We were 2 captains on the Super Bowl team for the Seahawks in the NFL. And so it's just like, it blows my mind when you say a kid can't play. I'll never tell a kid he can't play. But I will say there's a couple things I need to see you work on before I'm willing to stamp the film and say, hey, you could definitely play. A consultation, I'll just look at the film and be like, look, okay, how tall are you? How much do you weigh? I'm just going to tell you what the colleges are going to tell you. And then I'll proceed from there. I'll look at the film and be like, okay, you're a willing hitter. You could do this. I just need to see this, and this out of you in coverage, these eyes, your eyes, the feet. You clean that up. You put that on tape. Then that tape can go out to wherever. And I'll make the recommendation that, hey, this kid can play Division II scholarship. This kid can play 1AA. And once you prove it there, now you got tape that you can send everywhere. This is just pretty much what I'm just taking them through the journey that I had to go through.
Right, man. No doubt. Somebody said Lofa for DC. I said the same thing, man. Please, man.
If you let me have final say on who comes in and who plays, I'll consider it.
Hey, no doubt. You'll be giving these guys assignments, man. So look, man. Hey, Lofa, I definitely thank you for taking out the time, man. You didn't have to, but you did, and I really appreciate it, man. Is there anything before we get out of here that you wanted to leave with the Trojan family? Someone said, preach, Lofa. Is there anything you want to leave with the Trojan family before we get out of here, man?
Yeah, man, I love you guys. Thank you for all the support, back then and still to this day. Thanks for coming here, joining us tonight. My brother, I appreciate you having me, and I'll definitely jump on again, and we'll get straight to the questions.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. It's a lot, but I know you got it. So anyway, man, listen, everybody, we thank God for Lofa, man, USC legend, man. He came in, he joined us. And look, man, until later on, we are out of here, man. Everybody stay blessed. Fight on, fight on, fight on. All right, Lofa.